Welcome to the Re-Entry Archive. Today, we're going to explore a fascinating idea that lies at the intersection of psychology, mythology, and spirituality. Archetypes. Where did the concept come from? What do archetypes actually mean? How can they help us understand ourselves? And how do they connect with experiences people often report during psychedelic journeys? Let's dive in. The concept of archetypes was most famously developed by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung in the early 20th century. Jung was a contemporary of Sigmund Freud, but he branched off to develop his own school of thought, which he called analytical psychology. Jung noticed that across different cultures and throughout history, the same kinds of stories and symbols and characters kept appearing. Whether in ancient Greek myths, Native American legends, or modern fairy tales, similar figures and themes kept reappearing. He argued that these reoccurring patterns weren't just coincidence. Instead, they reflected something deep within the human psyche, a shared universal structure of the mind. He called these patterns archetypes. So, what exactly are archetypes? Archetypes are a universal symbol, role, and behaviour of pattern that live in what Jung called the collective unconscious, a hypothesized part of the mind that is shared among all humans. You can think of them as building blocks of human experience. Archetypes shape how we think, how we feel, and how we behave, often outside our own conscious awareness. They're not rigid characters, but rather psychological blueprints that can be expressed in many different ways. For example, the hero archetype can show up as Hercules in Greek mythology, Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, or even the underdog sports team fighting against the odds. Now, regardless of whether you believe in the collective unconscious to be literally true or just metaphorically true, there is still utility in opening your mind to the concept of archetypes. In Jung's view, archetypes are both personal and collective. You might meet them in your own dreams or fantasies, but they're also foundational to myths, religions, and cultural narratives everywhere. Let's look at a few concrete examples. The hero archetype, the one who goes on a journey, faces trials, and grows stronger through struggle. Think of Odysseus, Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen. The shadow archetype. This archetype represents the part of ourselves we try to hide, our fears or desires, our impulses that we don't want to admit. In stories, the shadow often appears as the villain or as a monster. The wise old man or woman archetype, the guide or mentor figure who offers wisdom, like Gandalf in Lord of the Rings or Yoda in Star Wars. The trickster archetype, a playful, disruptive force that challenges rules and shakes up order. Loki in Norse mythology, or the Joker in the Batman comics. The Great Mother archetype, a symbol of nurturing, creation, and sometimes destruction. She appears as Mother Earth, the Virgin Mary, or even the dangerous stepmother in fairy tales. But these are just a few. Young and later thinkers identified dozens of archetypes, from the lover, the ruler, to the explorer and the rebel and beyond. And I will be expanding upon these archetypes in more detail in future videos. But why does this matter? What makes the concept of archetypes useful? First, archetypes give us a language for understanding human behaviour and motivation. When you're able to recognise an archetype at play in your own life, you can see yourself as part of a larger story. For example, realising that you're on a hero's journey might help you face challenges with more courage. Secondly, archetypes are powerful tools in therapy and self-improvement. By identifying the shadow, for instance, people can confront parts of themselves that they've been avoiding, leading to healing and hopefully integration. Thirdly, archetypes can help us make sense of myths and art and culture. They can reveal why certain stories feel timeless and universally resonant. They can tap into deep structures of the human psyche. And finally, archetypes provide a way to connect inner experiences with outer meaning. They bridge the gap between our personal struggles and the universal patterns that face every human being. So how does any of this connect with psychedelics? Well, many people who take psychedelics report encounters with archetypal figures and symbols. These substances often dissolve the boundaries of the ordinary ego and open a doorway to the unconscious, both the personal and perhaps, if you believe, the collective. For example, someone may meet a radiant, all-knowing female figure who feels like a mother goddess. Others might encounter terrifying monsters or demonic entities, clear manifestations of the shadow. Others describe meeting trickster-like beings that play with perception and meaning. These encounters can feel mythic, as though the person has stepped into a universal story. In fact, Jung himself was interested in altered states and their relationship to the archetypal imagery, although there's no evidence that he ever took psychedelics himself. From a psychological perspective, what may be happening is that psychedelics might amplify the unconscious mind, allowing archetypes to rise vividly into awareness. And now this is why integration after psychedelic experiences is so important. Without understanding what these archetypal encounters mean, they can remain confusing or overwhelming. When approached carefully, recognizing archetypes in psychedelic journeys can provide powerful insights into one's own life, struggles, and path of growth. In summary, archetypes are universal patterns of human experience, first developed as a concept by Carl Jung. They show up in myths, stories, dreams, psychedelic experiences, and even our daily lives. Archetypes are useful because they help us understand ourselves, others, and the stories we wish to live out. And in the context of psychedelics, archetypes often emerge vividly, offering both challenges and opportunities for growth and self-discovery. So next time you read a myth, or watch a movie, or reflect upon your own dreams, look for the archetypes at play. They might just help you understand more about the narrative and possibly more about yourself. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more videos about psychedelia, psychedelic integration, and of course about archetypes, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.